हृष्यति न ध्वस्ति न सोचति न कांक्षति शुभाशुभ परित्यागी भक्तिमान ये समय प्रिय यो न हृष्यति न ध्वस्ति न सोचति न कांक्षति शुभाशुभ परित्यागी भक्तिमान ये समय प्रिय Yeah. You can repeat after me word for word translation. Yeah. One who. Na. Never. Hrisyati. Takes pleasure. Na. Never. Dvasti. Grieves. Na. Never. Sochati. Laments. Na. Never. Kamshati. Desires. Subha. Of the auspicious, Asubha, and the inauspicious, Parityagi, renouncer, Bhaktiman, devotee, Yeah, one who, Sa, he is, May, to me, Priya, dear. Translation: one who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, such a devotee is very dear to me. Purport by the Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. A pure devotee is neither happy nor distressed over material gain and loss, nor is he very much anxious to get a son or disciple, nor is he distressed by not getting them. If he loses anything which is very dear to him, he does not lament. Similarly, if he does not get what he desires, he is not distressed. He is transcendental in the face of all kinds of auspiciousness, inauspiciousness, and sinful activities. He is prepared to accept all kinds of risk for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Nothing is an impediment in the discharge of his devotional service. Such a devotee is very dear to Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Is born in the darkness of ignorance, and a spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisance unto him and to all the members of the Guru Parambara. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. For my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who just like desire trees, fulfilling the desires of everyone and are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned soul. So this is a very, very wonderful verse from Bhagavad Gita. But one of the central themes in Bhagavad Gita and in other Vedic literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita is that one should be able to tolerate the dualities of life. We will go through dualities of life. What are the dualities of life? Dualities of life, for example, day and night. It could be victory or defeat. We can have victory, we can have defeat. Then we can have success, we can have failure. We can have honor, we can have dishonor. We can have pleasure, we can have pain. We can have fame, we can have defamation. We can have health, we can have disease, day, night, it goes on. So we will always have the dualities of life, and all these will translate into happiness and distress. We will go through this ups and downs, but we'll have to be in this median equilibrium. It is, as I said, one of the central themes in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and also in other Vedic literatures. A verse that comes into mind from Srimad Bhagavatam is from the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vritrasura is one of the demons, and he is instructing Indra by this wonderful instruction. Tasmad akirti yasasor jayapa jayayorapi samasya dukkha dukkabhyam mrityu jivatayos tata. So the meaning of this verse, it starts with therefore, tasmad. The meaning of this verse, you can also guess the meaning. Tasmada kirtiyaso jayapa jayorapi samasya dukkha dukkapyam. So the key verse is in the third line. Sama means equal. Dukkha dukkapyam. Adukkapyam. That means happiness and distress. So here, all of us, he's instructed. The demon is instructing Indra that everything is happening by the supreme will of the Lord. So we have to stay in equilibrium in spite of us going through the dualities of life. So this is coming from a demon, and he is instructing Indra, and through Indra to us, that we will also go through the dualities of life, and we will have to maintain equilibrium and be without anxiety. So that is the instruction of Vritrasura to Indra, and through Indra to us. So this is a common theme. And also in the Avaduta's instruction to King Yadu, if you remember, we were going through the 24 gurus of Avaduta in the Uddhava Gita, and in the second guru of Avaduta, the second guru of Avaduta is the wind, and the wind, we know, passes through gutter, and it passes through a garden of wonderful fragrant flowers. It passes through the moisture of Niagara Falls, but it tolerates the dualities in that sense that it's not affected by any of this that is happening when it's passing through all these different areas. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada, when he was in Jaladuta, it was not by any stretch of imagination comfortable. Jaladuta, he had heart attacks, he had seasickness, he had to endure so much of difficulty in Jaladuta, but he was still giving Krishna. He was not impacted by the conditions that he was facing. Then later on, when the movement flourished, George Harrison donated this Bhaktivedanta Manor, wonderful mansion. He was still not elated, he was still preaching Krishna. When he was in Vrindavan, the conditions were wonderful in Radha Damodar temple. Still he was giving Krishna to others. And then when he was in the ghetto in the brewery in New York, which is the sinful area surrounded by all these drug addicts and drunkards, still he was preaching Krishna. So he was not affected by the dualities of life. So that is something that we also should try to practice. We will have success, we will have defeat, we will be victorious, we will be defeated, we will have fame, we will have defamation. We'll have to get to that stage where we are able to tolerate the dualities of life. It is the nature of life, we will have it. So, one of the persons who was able to tolerate the dualities of life was Kurat Alwan or Kuresh. You may have heard about this wonderful devotee. He is one of the foremost disciples of Sripad Ramanujacharya from the Sri Sampradaya. And Kuresh was born 1003 years ago. He was born in the year 1010, which is 1003 years ago, which is about 250 years before the advent of Madhvacharya, and about 500 years before the advent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Kuresh was born in a tiny hamlet called Kuram, which is about 10 kilometers from Kanchipuram, which is about 75 kilometers from Chennai. For those of you who are not familiar with Kanchipuram, it's about 75 kilometers from Chennai. And he was a great, great devotee of Lord Narayana. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 5th chapter, verses 38 to 40. And the reason I'm giving you this is for you to go and read this wonderful verse. 11th canto, 5th chapter, verses 38 to 40. It is said it is the prophecy of the advent of the great Sri Sampradaya Acharyas. Because it is said, great devotees, even from Satya Yuga, they desire to take birth in Kali Yuga because there are wonderful devotees of Lord Narayan in Kali Yuga, especially in South India. It says Dravida Desa, where these devotees of Lord Narayan drink the holy waters of Tamaraparani, Kritamala, Payasvini, Kaveri, Mahanidhi. These are all glorious rivers, and for us to know a little bit about these rivers, you will have to go all the way to the 9th chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and you will have to read the wonderful nectarian purports of Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining that the first river, which is Tamaraparni river, the name is mentioned in Ramayana. Now Ramayana took place in Treta Yuga, which is 2 million years ago. So this river was not just started coming in the last 2 years or 20 years or 2000 years. This Tamaraparni river has been flowing for 2 million years. It is mentioned in Ramayana, which happened in Treta Yuga. And the next river that is mentioned is Kritamala. Kritamala, the other name of Kritamala is Vaigai Nadi. Vaigai Nadi, for those of you who are from South India, you would have heard this. There's also a famous train and Kritamala, and also Payasvini. Payasvini is one of those holy rivers in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself took part. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not only took part in Tamaraparni, Kritamala, also in Payasvini river, where Payasvini is the river where Krishna Dasa was actually taken back by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna Dasa is one of the Vaishnavas who traveled with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during the South Indian trip, and Krishna Dasa was actually captured by the women of Bhattataris. Bhattataris, Prabhupada mentions, they are nomadic people, they are in the garb of sannyasis, but they are actually not sannyasis. And Krishna Dasa was traveling with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was captured by the women of Bhattataris, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually was able to take back Krishna Das, and then they took part in this famous Payasvini river. And Prabhupada is explaining about them in his purport. So he says there are 4 Vaishnava Sampradaya. One is Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, to which all of us are connected to. And then we have Shri Sampradaya. Then there is Rudra Sampradaya, and also we have Kumara Sampradaya. So these are the 4 Sampradayas. And also Prabhupada is explaining about the name. He's also giving the name of the commentaries that are written by these acharyas on the Vedanta Sutras. So the first bona fide Vaishnava Sampradaya is Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, which originated from Lord Brahma himself. And the famous acharya from this Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya is Madhvacharya. And the interesting coincidence here is all the 4 acharyas from the 4 Sampradayas are born in South India. So Madhvacharya was born in Udupi, a small hamlet near Udupi. And what is the Bhashya that he wrote? What is the commentary on Vedanta Sutra called? Purna Prajna Bhashya, that is the commentary. And also in the Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, there are 2 more commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra. One is Laghu Bhagavatamrita by Rupa Goswami. And the second one is Govinda Bhashya by Baladev Vidyabhushan. So there are more commentaries on this Vedanta Sutra. And Shri Sampradaya is originating from the goddess of fortune herself, and the main acharya is Ramanujacharya. So we'll hear more about that Sampradaya and the pastimes of Quresh. And the commentary on Vedanta Sutra written by Ramanujacharya is called Sri Bhashya. And he's born in Sri Perumbudur, which is about 25 kilometers from Chennai. Sri Perumbudur, if you may remember, is actually infamous for another incident because Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated there. But it's eternally famous for the appearance of Sripad Ramanujacharya. And then the third Sampradaya is Kumara Sampradaya, originating from the 4 Kumaras who are mind-born sons of Brahma. And the main acharya is Nimbarkacharya. And then the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra is called Parijata Saurabha Bhashya. And then the 4th Sampradaya is Rudra Sampradaya, originating from Lord Shiva himself. And the main acharya is Vishnu Swami. And the commentary that Vishnu Swami wrote is Sarvagya Bhashya. So these are the 4 authorized commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra. What is Vedanta Sutra? So Vyasadeva actually split that one Veda into 4 different Vedas. Then he wrote the Puranas. Then he wrote Mahabharata, of which Bhagavad Gita is central part of it. And then he wrote Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is the cream of the Vedic literatures. And then he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita that the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. So you don't have to worry about whether that you did not get a chance to read Purna Prajna Bhashya or Sri Bhashya or Parijata Saurabha Bhashya or Sarvagya Bhashya. All you have to do is read Srimad Bhagavatam and you will know the Vedanta Sutra, which is the cream of all the Vedic literatures. And who's an Acharya? We talked about Acharya. The definition of Acharya is given in Vayu Puran, and Prabhupada is actually confirming that in Chaitanya Charitamrita. An Acharya is one who knows the purport of the Vedic literature. He lives by that, and he also teaches that to his disciples. So, as we heard, Quresh is one of the exalted Acharyas in this Sri Sampradaya, and Prabhupada describes briefly about Quresh in the 79th verse of the 9th chapter of the Madhya Leela. In the 79th verse, Prabhupada is explaining about Kurat Alvan or Quresh. So he lived for 106 glorious years, 1003 years ago. So he was very, very rich. He was like a king in that area called Kuram, which is about 10 kilometers from Kanjipuram, which is about 75 kilometers from Chennai. And he used to go in the night in disguise to actually feel the pulse of the people there. How are they feeling? What do they need? What can I do to them? He had the service mentality. So he wanted to fulfill the desires of all the people in that area. So one night when he went there to one house, one Brahmana is talking to his wife, and he's lamenting that his daughter or their daughter is not going to get married because of the horoscope. The horoscope says as soon as the daughter delivers the first child, the son-in-law will die. So this is very clear in the horoscope. So it's not horoscope, it's horoscope. So it's very, very bad. When he heard this, his heart melted. So what did he do? He went back to his palace, and next day he came and he asked for the hand of the girl in marriage. So this Brahmana, being a Brahmin, he does not lie. So he says, my daughter has got a very bad horoscope. You will die if you marry my daughter. As soon as the first child is born, you will die. Why? Because I will remain celibate. Because I'm going to remain celibate, we will not have any children. Because we are not going to have any children, I will not die, and your daughter will not be without an husband. So he got married to Andal. Andal Amma, one of the most beautiful girls that you can see, but do not mistake this Andal with one of the 12 Alvars, which was only one woman in that 12 Alvars. Her name is also Andal, but this Andal is different. So they get married, and in very early stage of his life, Quresh was able to meet Ramanujacharya in Kanjipuram, and he became his disciple. He was actually the second disciple of Sripad Ramanujacharya. So Andalama and Quresh or Kuratalwan got initiated by Ramanujacharya very early in Kanjipuram. And they started learning about the Vedic literatures under the guidance of Ramanujacharya in Kanjipuram. In due course of time, Ramanujacharya was pulled to go to Srirangam, which is about 300 kilometers from Kanjipuram, based on the instruction of Ramanujacharya's guru, who's Mahapurna. Mahapurna is also called as Periyanambi, and also based on Kanchipurna, who's the Diksha Guru of Ramanujacharya, and his name is Tirukkachi Nambi. So based on Tirukkachi Nambi and Periyanambi's instruction, he had to leave Kanchipuram to go to Srirangam, which is about 300 kilometers. So in separation from the spiritual master, Kuratalwan and Andalama were continuing to lead their life based on the instruction of Ramanujacharya. And how did they lead their life? From morning to night, from morning to midnight, actually not night, morning to midnight, their palaces remain open. And they have a huge brass door that is left open. Morning to midnight, they serve amazing feast, prasadam, to all the needy people in the whole of Kanjipuram area, morning to midnight. And they were giving them so much gifts to everybody who came came to Quraysh's house from morning to midnight. Based on the instructions of Ramanujacharya, they were leading the life like that. And it is said, one who is in this path of respectable parentage, opulence, bodily beauty, and high education, these are all the four traps. If all of us are very elevated in these four material things, we cannot get devotional service, we cannot attain the Lord. But here, he had all these things, and he was leading a life like a kinchana. Kinchana means something. Kinchana means nothing. So even though he possessed everything, he lived a life like a beggar, because he knew whatever he possessed is not his, it's all Lord's. So it is said, Janmaishwarya Shuta Shivir Edamana Madapuma Naivarati Abhidyatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. So this is by Queen Kunti to Lord Krishna. My dear Lord, your Lordship can be easily attained, but by one who's materially exhausted, one who's in this path of respectable parentage, opulence, bodily beauty, high education cannot reach you. But here, he's already in Akinchana. He's materially exhausted, even though he had everything. And in the wonderful instruction by Narada Muni to Prachetas, there's a wonderful verse. Na bhajati kumani sinam saijyam hariradhanatma dhanam priya rasagya sutadana kula karma namaderi vidati papam akinchanesu satsu. So here it says, the Lord is extremely pleased with one who does not possess any material thing but possesses devotional service. So here, he possesses material things, but he still considers it does not belong to him. So he had pure devotional service. So that was the life that Quraysh and Andalamma were leading. One day, Perendevi Tayar is goddess of fortune herself, who's the consort of Varadaraja Perumal, who's Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu in Kanchipuram. One day, she talked to Tirkachi Nambi, who's Kanchipurna, and she said, what is the sound that I heard last night at 12 o'clock? A big banging of one gate closing. And Tirkachi Nambi says, oh, that is the door of Quraysh and Andalamma's palace closing in the night, in the midnight. And they close that so that they can take a little bit of rest, and again they can start serving the needy, the deaf and the dumb and the lame by giving them opulent prasadam and gifts. Goddess of fortune, Perendevi Tayar, said, I want to see this person tomorrow morning. Now, how many of us will get that opportunity where the goddess of fortune is calling for that person to come and meet this goddess of fortune? And you should also understand the greatness of Tirkachi Nambi or Kanchipurna, because the Lordship is talking to him. We can talk to the deities, but here the goddess of fortune and Varadaraja Perumal are talking to Tirkachi Nambi, and they are saying, they are requesting, I want Quraysh to come and personally see me tomorrow morning. So next day morning, Kanchipurna runs, Tirkachi Nambi runs to Quraysh's place, which is about 10 kilometers from Kanchipuram, which is Kuram. And then he is so ecstatic and he tells Quraysh that Perendevi Tayar wants to meet you. Now if it was any one of us, what will we think? Oh, finally I get the reward for all the donation I'm giving. Goddess of fortune is actually calling me to have the personal audience. But what was he thinking? He immediately knew that he was utterly unqualified to see goddess of fortune. So he said, even though I cannot disobey the order of goddess of fortune, but I cannot go in this materially contaminated state to see the goddess of fortune. One, I have made a big advertisement of the little charity that I am giving by this door making so much noise that it was heard 10 kilometers away, and it actually disturbed the Lordship there in Kanchipuram. Varadaraja Perumal and Perendevi Tayar were disturbed in midnight because of me trying to advertise. Even though he did not do it deliberately, he feels so bad that it disturbed the Lordship, and also he's making a big scene out of nothing in giving so less charity according to him that it's become a big deal now. So he said, I cannot go and see the goddess of fortune in this contaminated state. Now only way I can remove this contamination is by taking the water that washed the lotus feet of my spiritual master Ramanujacharya, and when I sprinkle it and when I drink the water that washed the feet of my spiritual master, then I will be removed of my contamination, because right now I'm polluted in wealth, I'm intoxicated in pride because of the wealth that I have. After that, with the blessings of my Guru Maharaj, who's currently in Srirangam, which is about 300 kilometers away, then I can maybe be fortunate enough to get the blessings and the audience of Goddess of Fortune. So he says that, and right away he calls his wife Andal. He takes off all the expensive ornaments and dress that he's wearing and whatever Andal was wearing. He said, renounce everything and let's go to Srirangam, which is 300 kilometers. It will take several days to walk from Kanchipuram to Srirangam. So he left everything, all the wonderful palace with the wealth and ornaments and everything. He just left everything, and both of them started walking from their house, from their palace. Now, he considered himself to be a sinner and a materialist, though he was not. So if you read the history of all the great Vaishnavas, all of them have the same mode. They consider themselves to be fallen. They consider them to be foolish, materialist. Sanatana Goswami was one of the 6 Goswamis. When he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, I don't know where I'm coming from. I don't know where I'm going. I'm fooled. I'm not learned. I'm materially intoxicated. When you see him, he was the most learned scholar at that time. Materially, he was very successful. He had so much of palaces and wealth. But he considers himself to be a fool, an illiterate, a materialist. Even though he had everything, he also led a life of akinchana. Kinchana means something, akinchana means nothing. And what about Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita? He explains about himself in Chaitanya Charitamrita. How? He says, I am lame, I am deaf, I am dumb, I am materially intoxicated, I am illiterate, and he says, I am worse than a worm in the stool. Hare Krishna. I am worse than a worm in the stool. Now, stool is something that everybody does not want to go near. Now, only one thing that relishes the stool is this worm in the stool, which is the most, the lowest of all. And he considered himself to be lower than the worm in the stool. And he's such a great scholar if you read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Same thing with Govinda Das. Govinda Das, great Acharya, another Govinda Das Prabhu is here, but Govinda Das is the one who wrote this Bhajahure Mana Bhajan. Bhajahure Mana, Bhajahure Mana, Shri Nanda Nanda. You may have heard this wonderful bhajan. In the second verse of this, Sita Atapa Bata Barishana Ejana Jamini Jagire. Sita means cold, Atapa means hot. Sita Atapa, Bata means wind, Barijana means rain. Then it goes on day and night, spending sleepless night just to serve the wicked men for this flickering pleasure. Now he's not into all that, but he still considers himself to be fallen. So similarly, Quraysh was considered himself to be so fallen that he is unqualified or not qualified to see Goddess of Fortune. So they left everything and then they started leaving the palace and they started walking towards Srirangam, which is 300 kilometers away. In the middle of the night, Andal, his wife, was fearful, mortified by the fact that there are nocturnal robbers and dacoits in the forest. And she held Kuratalwan's hand and she said, I'm really scared. Kuratalwan said, why are you scared? I asked you to renounce everything. We have nothing to fear. We have left everything. So what is there to get scared? Then he asked, did you renounce everything or you have something with you that is valuable? Then Andal confessed and she said, I just have a golden cup in the fold of my sari. And I kept that because when you are tired, I want to serve you with water. And that is why I kept one golden tumbler with me. Then he said, I asked you to renounce everything. That is why you are having this fear. If you don't have anything, you don't have to fear about anything. So he took this golden tumbler and he threw into the darkness of the night into the shrubbery. And he said, We don't have any more fear. So he was not attached to any of the wealth. So that is the verse that we are reading today. Tolerate the dualities of life. And he was not attached to that so that he did not miss it when it got thrown. So they were not attached to it. Because Sochati and Na Kamshati, if you remember. Sochati means in Tamil, Sogam. It comes from that word. The Sogam is based on that. Sogam means, Sochati means lamenting. We had something, but we lost it. Oh, I had this great car, but it was total. I had this great laptop or the iPad and there was a scratch on it. So either we lost it totally or partially, or to the expectation of us which we had, it's not fulfilling that. So that is Sochati. And Kamshati is hankering, greedy. So we always think, if only I get that beautiful house in Richmond Hill, I will be so happy. Eventually when we get that, oh, I'm still not happy. If you think we all came from different countries, if only we go to Canada, we own a house, we own this car, that, we'll be extremely happy eternally. Is that the case? We all came here, we're still here, but we still have different aims now. It keeps changing. It's always like Prabhupada says, like the mirage in the desert. There's always, far away there seems to be water there. When we go there, put the hand, there is no water, there is only mirage. It is the illusion. So, here that is the na Sochati and na Kamshati means no hankering and no lamentation. So there is the same two words, or the same second line is also in one of the Bhagavad Gita. If you remember, Brahma Buddha Prasannatma, na Sochati na Kamshati, sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labade param. Again, when one attains this Brahma Buddha platform means when we realize the personal form of the Lord, not just the Brahman feature, not just the Paramatma feature, but when we realize the Bhagavan feature of the Lord, then we are in this Brahma Buddha platform. Then we don't differentiate, he's from Sri Lanka, I'm from Pakistan, I'm white, I'm beautiful, man, women. That platform is totally we go beyond that. That is the Brahma Buddha platform. So here, so they throw that and they go. Now the 18th Guru of Avadhuta, again it's explained to King Yadu. Who's the 18th Guru? Kurura bird. Kurura bird is a hawk. So one day this hawk was flying over a lake and then he captures a big fish in its claws. In its talons, a fish is squirming. A huge fish. So that is his prey. This Kurura bird or the hawk is very, very happy with the possession that he's got. And immediately he looks up. There are 10 Kurura birds that are coming to attack this younger and smaller Kurura bird. What did this Kurura bird do? Just left that fish and then flew away. What did the Avadhuta learn from this? Attachment is the cause of misery. Detachment is the cause of happiness. He was very happy. He went away because he can catch another fish. But if he did not let go of this particular fish that was squirming in the talons, the bigger birds would have killed this bird as well as taken the fish. So from there, from this example, once he threw the golden tumbler, they were very happy. They did not have any fear of the dacoits, and they progressed towards Ramanujacharya's residence in Sri Lanka. And Ramanujacharya invited them and gave them a place of residence, and he sustained himself. Now Quraysh was the king of that area. Kura Talban was a king. How did he sustain himself? By begging alms, going door to door. He was a king. Now he's begging alms, but he's under the guidance of his spiritual master Ramanujacharya. And he's so happy that he's got this association, personal association with his spiritual master Ramanujacharya, because he's able to chant the holy name wonderfully well. He's able to read all the Vedic literatures, and also personally he's able to serve the lotus feet of his Guru Maharaj. And with the time that he had, he was able to write a commentary on Sahasra Giti. Sahasra Giti is a wonderful work of Vararanga. Who's Vararanga? Yamunacharya's son. Alabandha, Yamunacharya's son. And he is like the shadow of Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya had made 3 promises to the body of Yamunacharya, Alabandha. Yamunacharya had left his life, he's disappeared, and his body is there, and his 3 fingers were held like this, and then it's a long past time, we can hear that some other time, but then after he left the body, Ramanujacharya asked all the disciples, is Yamunacharya's fingers are always closed? His body, his lifeless body is like this. Then they said, no, he never had 3 fingers like this. Yamunacharya never had 3 fingers like this. Then he said 3 things. When Ramanujacharya said 3 things, one by one the finger came out. So they were the unfulfilled or the desires, unfulfilled desires of Yamunacharya. Ramanujacharya said he's going to fulfill it. And what are the 3 promises? 1, to free the people of illusion by spreading the glories of Lord Vishnu. 1 finger came out. The body is dead, 1 finger came out. The second, he meditated and he said, there is no other absolute truth other than Lord Vishnu. 2nd finger came out. By writing Sri Bhashya. Sri Bhashya is a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And the 3rd one, I will name a great Vaishnava by the name of Parasar Muni. I'll give the name Parasar Muni. And who's Parasar Muni? The father of Vyasadeva, who wrote Vishnu Puran. So these were the 3 unfulfilled desires of Yamunacharya that Ramanujacharya said that he's going to fulfill. So his fingers were okay. So he already fulfilled the first one, and it's an ongoing process by spreading the glories of Lord Vishnu. But his 2nd and 3rd dreams were not fulfilled at all. So the 2nd dream is to prove that the absolute truth is Lord Vishnu or the Supreme Personality of Godhead and none beyond that. By writing Sri Bhashya, which is a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra are, as we heard, the cream of Vedic literatures. But when you read the cream of Vedic literatures, you will not be able to understand that. Aham Brahmasmi, it says, it's like a formula. Aham Brahmasmi. So that was construed to be, I am the Supreme. But that is not the fact. Because at that time, Shankaracharya had written this Saririka Bhashya, which Srila Prabhupada says, do not read it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, do not read the Saririka Bhashya because it's impersonalist view. So when Ramanujacharya, as we heard, Ramanujacharya appeared before Madhvacharya, about 250 years before Madhvacharya, about 500 years before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. So he was the first person to actually stop this inundation of this impersonalist view. So he wanted to write this Sri Bhashya. And before he wrote the Sri Bhashya, he wanted to refer to Bodhyayana Vritti, which was available only in Sharada Peeth in Azad, Kashmir, which is in Pakistan right now. He wanted to refer that, not so that he refers it and he writes a Sri Bhashya, no, to refute what was there, because Shankara had also referred to this Bodhyayana Vritti. So he wanted to refer to that so that he can refute those statements in his Bhashya, in this Sri Bhashya. But that was available only in Kashmir. And those days there's no aeroplane for him to take and go there in the next day or so. So he decided to take Kuratalwan, Quresh, along with him in this arduous journey of 3 months travel to Azad Kashmir, to the Sharada Peeth in Pakistan. So eventually they go to Sharada Peeth, and Sharada Peeth is a Durga temple, but the Pandits there are impersonalists. So he was able to, Ramanujacharya and Quresh were able to dazzle the Pandits there with the Vedic knowledge that they have, and they were very impressed, the Pandits. And finally, when the Pandits asked, what are you here for? Can we serve you? Then Quresh and Ramanujacharya said, we came here to refer to this Bodhyayana Vritti, written by Bodhyayana. And they suddenly realized, this person is a great Vaishnava. If he reads this, he will refute it, and this impersonalist view will be destroyed, and everybody will know that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what they decided, oh, that particular book, Bodhyayana Vritti, you know, the worms ate the book. We don't have the book anymore. Ramanujacharya, oh, by the way, all the pastimes that you are hearing are from these wonderful books. I would recommend you to read this book. It's The Life of Ramanujacharya by Naimisharanya Das, and then also there are other wonderful books by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami, The Life and Teachings of Four Acharyas, And then we have Sri Ramanuja's Life, Religion and Philosophy. They're wonderful books, so you can take a look at this for you to get your copy and read it. So they said that the worms actually ate the book, so we don't have the book. So Ramanujacharya was totally disappointed and distressed because for 3 months they spent this time to go all the way to Kashmir, and these Pandits are saying that there's no book. So they were ready to leave the next day from Kashmir to come back to Srirangam. At that time, when he was sleeping, Sharda herself came, Goddess Durga came in the dream of Ramanujacharya, and she said, it's a dream, but then the book is given to Ramanujacharya. Here is Bodhyayana Vritti, take it and go back to your Srirangam. So immediately he calls Kuratalwan, and both of them take this Bodhyayana Vritti and they start coming towards Srirangam. But as you know, it's 3 months travel. But within the next few days, when these Pandits were trying to arrange the bookshelf, rearrange the bookshelf, they find this Bodhyayana Vritti is missing. Immediately they send large group of people to go and hunt them down as to where they are. In about a month's time, they catch Ramanujacharya and Kuratalwan. And without saying any word, they took the Bodhyayana Vritti and returned back. And again Ramanujacharya is totally disappointed that it's so close yet so far, because he wanted to read this book only when they come to Srirangam, but they're not in Srirangam yet, so he did not go through the book. And at that time, Kuratalwan said, my dear spiritual master, do not worry that we lost the book. So Ramanujacharya said, what do you mean? We don't have the book. That was the only copy that was available. No other copy is available. We went all the way there. They said the book was eaten by worms, and then Goddess Durga herself came and gave the book, and now we lost it too. So what do you mean, don't worry about it? Then he said, every night when you are resting, Guru Maharaj, I was reading Bodhyayana Vritti, and in this 1 month, I've read the entire Bodhyayana Vritti. So he said, okay, it's good that you read it, but still we don't have the book. He said, I can transcribe the book as it is, because he had this photographic memory, he had this prodigious power of memory, of mind, where once he reads anything, he'll be able to remember that and write it down as it is, including comma and period. So that was the greatness of Kuratalwan. So he said, in one night, I can transcribe the whole of Bodhyayana Vritti into a book, and then we can go to Srirangam, and then you will be able to read that, and then you can write the Sri Bhashya. So in one night, he transcribed the whole of Bodhyayana Vritti, and with that, they went back to Srirangam. And Ramanujacharya was so ecstatic, he mentioned these glorious events that had happened in Kashmir to all the other disciples, and he glorified Kuratalwan about his photographic memory, and then he said, now you be my secretary, and we will start, and I will be dictating Sri Bhashya, you write it down. But if you think something needs to be added or updated or made better, you stop writing, put your pen or whatever they were using at that time, put it down, then I know that needs to be fortified or strengthened. Then he wanted to actually disprove some of the verses that were there. Tattvam Asi. Tattvam Asi means, it was said at that time, it was interpreted as the Lord and the soul are same, there is no difference. Aham Brahmasmi, we are spirit, but it was construed to be, I am the supreme. So he wanted to disprove all that. So he started writing. And at one particular time, Ramanujacharya said, the soul is eternal and full of bliss. He said that, Kuratalwan put the pen down. Ramanujacharya said, what is this? There's nothing wrong with this. Why did you put your pen down? He did not say anything. Then he started contemplating more and more, and at that time, he realized that when he said that the soul is eternal and full of bliss, it may be construed as the soul is independent. So he changed it. The soul is eternal, full of bliss, and the soul is totally dependent on the Lord, and the only purpose of the soul to be in this earth is to serve the Supreme Personality of God. Then in due course of then, Quresh started writing, and the whole of Sri Bhashya was completed. So that is the glory of Kuratalwan or Quresh, and he was totally blessed by even Mahapurna, who's the spiritual master of Ramanujacharya, Mahapurna is also known as Periyanambi, and also by the Siksha Guru, who is Kanchipurna. Kanchipurna is Tirkachi Nambi. So again, if you get a chance to visit South India, there's a wonderful temple in Kanchipuram, and the main deity is Varadaraja Perumal, who is Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, and the Lord's consort is Perandevi Tayar. So Kuram is this village or the hamlet in which Kuratalwan was born 1003 years ago, and it's, as I mentioned, it's about 10 kilometers from Kanchipuram. And also in this Varadaraja Perumal temple, there are two wonderful lizards. Has anybody been to Kanchipuram? Prabhu's been there. So you remember the wonderful golden lizard that is there. There's a wonderful silver lizard that is smaller in size. Then there is also a golden sun, and also there is a moon, silver moon that is there. And it is said that anybody who goes and touches, so there is a small, so you can stand on top of this staircase, and you can actually physically touch these two lizards. And it is said the sins that we have committed in killing any lizards or any of the animals will go away. There's a wonderful history of these two lizards who are there, who turned into a lizard. That wonderful pastime is there, we can hear some other time. But devotees go there, they touch these lizards and get the blessings. And Kuratalwan, there are so many more wonderful pastimes are there. One is, he wanted to know the meaning of the verse Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja Aham Tvam Sarva Pavebhyo Moksha Isyami Masuchara. So when he went and approached Ramanujacharya and said, please give me the esoteric meaning of this wonderful verse, Ramanujacharya said, for 1 full year, you will have to give up all your independent desires and serve the spiritual master. He liked that because he wanted to serve the spiritual master eternally. It was not because of that. He asked this question to Ramanujacharya. So he said, my dear Guru Maharaj, eternally I am your servant, I would like to serve you. But I cannot wait for 1 year to know this esoteric meaning of this verse. I may not even live for 1 year. I may die before knowing the meaning of this verse. So why don't you enlighten my heart so that this meaning manifests in my heart? Then Ramanujacharya said, okay, for 1 month, I wanted to go house to beg, not knowing from where your next meal is going to come. If you remember, he's the king of that area. He said, for next 1 month, go house to house, begging, not knowing where the next meal is going to come from. And he did that, even though he was a king. He did that, and Ramanujacharya explained to him this esoteric meaning of this surrender, because abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I will deliver you of all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So that's the wonderful pastime of Kuratalwan or Kuresh. Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sripad Ramanujacharya ki jai. Kuratalwan ki jai. Hare Krishna.